Well, I got lucky. I had a guy in here yesterday. I told him the same thing. I said, "Look, you just have to do it. Like, there's no other way that you're really going to learn how to compete unless you just do it." So, I did a little mini comp here, just through one of the forums. I did this little mini comp. It was like, I pulled out my Thermapen on the asphalt. It was like 132 degrees. It sucked. I mean, it was like July, and so we went out there expecting like 3,000 Harley guys to show up for this big ride or whatever. We cooked all night. I cooked, I think, 8 pork butts, and then we were gonna serve them, and then there was gonna be a little competition. They were gonna judge everything. So I finished dead last out of like 9 teams, and I thought I had great pork, but I never knew how to do any of it. But because it was so hot, none of these guys showed up because it was so hot. They weren't riding their bikes. They gave us free entry into an actual KCBS competition the next weekend up in northern Arizona. So I'm just like, what the heck? Threw my little Weber and my Murano and got a used Easy up and a used table and just went up and just made friends and got some advice and ended up doing really well in my first comp. So I mean, really bottom line, if you're thinking about taking the next step, is just do it. Just find a cheap local contest and just go out there, and don't be scared to be new. Just be humble, and people will help you out. Like, everyone in the whole competition world is pretty cool like that. Biggest thing is just practice. It's cliche. I mean, that's what everyone says. Practice makes perfect, but it's true. Like, you have to practice. You have to know your smoker. I'd say one thing that I learned from Mike Davis's class, the Laudable U class, is that you don't put anything in your competition smoker that you're not turning in. You know, you do not affect how the cooker's cooking. You know, you need to learn whatever amount of meat you're putting in for competition, that's what you put in. And you do that over and over and over so you know how your cooker reacts. You know, and in my class, I tell people to jump out and practice in the rain. If it's raining, cook. If it's windy, cook. You know, if you're competing, you need to know how to cook in all the elements. And I think that there's a few competitions. My grand championship was that way. It was really windy all night long. And I've cooked in the wind a ton. And it was nice because for me, it just didn't affect me. I knew how to deal with it, and I had a really good cook. And so, you know, you got to learn to cook in the elements. But the other thing is you got to stick. You got to find your flavors. You got to find your timing. I'm not a write down everything guy. Like, to me, if it tastes good, if it looks good, like, that's kind of how I've learned. But I think for a lot of people, it benefits a lot. Like, when you're learning or practicing, write things down on, hey, I tried this rub today, it sucked. Or I tried this rub today, it was awesome. And then once you find it, stick with it and cook it over and over and over and just get consistent. But you're right, like, to turn out a consistent product, I mean, one weekend I'm competing at sea level, one weekend I'm at 6,000 feet. That's a huge, huge difference, and cook times and everything else. So you have to be able to make adjustments to turn things out the same. But yeah, that's a tough part of it for sure, especially with 4 different categories. Yeah, I've got my little section on barbecueislandinc.com. Down in the lower right it says Ask Bam Bam. I've got some blogs there. I've got a big thing about entering into competition barbecue, or my introduction into it. I've got Facebook page, facebook.com, Bam Bam's Barbecue. My Instagram is Bam Bam's BBQ. So both of those methods are a great way. Bam Bam Cam 17 is my Twitter handle. So, and I love talking barbecue. Like, I've got a lot of followers on there that'll just ask questions. And yes, I teach my classes here every 5-6 weeks, and I love doing that, and I'll keep doing that. But I'm always down to help anybody. Like, if you ask me a question on Facebook or call the store or whatever, like, I'll always help out. I love doing that stuff. So yeah, totally encourage people to do that.